Hi everyone, I'm Alex and today's video will be more of a casual chat. I wanted to talk about the motto of everything happens for a reason, because the more I am in social media, the more I can see that there's a lot of misconception surrounding this specific saying. Since quite some time I'm interested in self-care and self-development, and I follow a lot of accounts especially on Instagram, that promote some motivational quotes, some tips for developing yourself. And on some of those accounts, I've noticed that when they present the topic of everything happens for a reason, they focus on the negative side of it. So let me explain. What I mean is, when they present this topic, they say like, you are responsible for your bad decisions, you have to deal with it, and so on. And I don't want to put any screenshots here because I don't want to promote such thinking. And so I want to kind of answer this, because everything happens for a reason is not really about that. So just a bit on decision making. For me, there is no such thing as bad and good decisions, okay? So when we make decisions, we make them based on our knowledge. So you can't blame yourself for making a bad decision because you simply didn't know previously what you know now. So to picture that, let's imagine that 1 year ago, you wanted to work in a specific company, okay? So you've seen a lot of benefits, you even had some friends that are working in this company, so it was kind of natural that it was your dream to work there. And after a year, you see that there are a lot of different things happening in this company. You see that the atmosphere is tense, that not everything looks like what you have seen from the outside. And was it a really bad decision that you decided to work there? Not really. Now after the year, you have a full picture of this company. So you see the bad sides and the good sides of this company, and now you can make another decision. Do you want to stay there, or do you want to go and work somewhere else? Another situation can be, for example, if you date a popular guy in your school, and he seems perfect, okay, and you are lucky to date him, but after some time you realize that he behaves in a way that you do not accept. And was it a bad decision that you decided to date him? No, because you didn't know everything about him. So after you got to know him better, you noticed some bad behaviors. Does it mean that you wasted your time? Not really, you gained experience, okay? So now you have another decision to make. Is it easy to talk to him and tell him that these behaviors distract you, that they make you angry, and that you don't want him to behave like that and you hope that he will change, or you simply just don't want to tolerate that anymore and you just break up with him? Okay, so there is no such concept for me as good and bad decisions, because you can't blame yourself for not knowing something that you know now. Okay, why am I saying okay after every sentence? Right, so back to the main topic. So what is everything happens for a reason really about? Okay, so did I really say okay? So I want to present you this topic on some examples, and I will be mentioning work situations, so you may or may not identify with them. And I also want to say that I will be talking from the perspective of a Catholic person, but whether you believe in God or not, or maybe you believe in the power of universe, whatever, as long as you are a realist with a tiny bit of optimism, you will be able to understand my point. When talking about everything happens for a reason, in the examples I'm gonna give you, there will be bad situation, the first one. The second one will be bad and good situation, and the third one will be a good situation. So all of these situations are the ones where everything happens for a reason works. But those are only examples. Everything happens for a reason works in every situation, if that is your life motto. So the first two situations actually refer to the negativity that is spread by those posts on Instagram that I've seen, that you have to be responsible for your own decisions, something like that. Okay, so let me start with the first example. So the first situation is that you have lost your job. And how did it happen? That's important. So you told your boss that someone broke an expensive printer, right? And your boss doesn't actually see the problem. They blame you for that because everything was working good, and now you're telling the printer is broken, so you're fired, basically. Whether it's logical or not, let's assume this happened, so you're fired. So based on the logic of those posts on Instagram, you might think that, okay, so my boss fired me because I told him the truth. So next time I shouldn't say something like that, and I shouldn't just stick my nose into other people's business, and I should just keep my mouth shut. It was obviously a bad decision that you wanted to tell the truth. But in my opinion, how everything happens for a reason applies here is that, okay, it happened, I'm fired, but maybe God did that, or the universe did that, but I prefer that God did that, just to make me avoid some other problems, maybe some bigger problems, okay? So I was fired for such a small thing because maybe I would be fired later on for something completely different and something that would destroy my whole career. Maybe I was fired because I avoided some accident at work. Okay? So God made that decision to fire you for such a small thing at your work to prevent you from getting into more trouble. And after all, this is not the end of the world. You can now search for another job, maybe a well-paid one, maybe a better one, you know what I mean. Okay, so that was the situation number one. So that was a bad situation. Now we have situation number two, which is a bad and good situation at once. So the second situation is that you got a new job, and it's a better paid job than the previous one, okay? So that is a good one. But your first client is a completely terrible person, a rude one, and you just don't want to work with them. But you have to deal with them because it's your new job, okay? And after a few months of working with them, you're saying, okay, everything happens for a reason. And based on the logic of those posts, you might say that's right, I made a mistake in my previous job, so now the universe punished me for that, and now universe sent me someone even worse in my new job. So on one hand, I have a better paid job, but on the other hand, I have a terrible client. That is my first client. So what I will tell you, what my logic is, after thinking that everything happens for a reason, is that, well, a difficult client, well, it happens. Maybe God showed me the worst that can happen in this work. Maybe because of this experience, I am more prepared for anything that comes my way. Maybe because of that difficult client, I am ready and I am prepared how to deal with such clients. So now, after that, I know how to stand up for myself and speak up for myself when something is wrong. And maybe the next time it is worth telling your new boss about something like that, and maybe they will handle it better, in a better way. Or you can just simply ask for help, because there is no need for your mental health to be destroyed by something like that. Okay, that was the second situation. Now we're going to the third and the last situation, which is the good one. Okay, so now, as you can see, that I am responsible for my decisions doesn't really apply to any good situations, because how can you be responsible for a good decision?
Pause. What I meant here is that a bad decision, according to those posts, means you reap what you sow. Deal with it yourself. You made your bed, now sleep in it. But what if this saying is applied to a good decision? What if the bed has been well made and you will enjoy sleeping in it? Exactly. The logic of these posts behind everything happens for a reason doesn't extend to being responsible for good decisions or encountering a positive situation, event, or stage in your life.
Right? So the third situation is the very perfect one, the very good one situation, and it is now the next month, or yeah, let's say it's the next month of your work, and you get a new client, which is some celebrity who you admired since childhood, and you wanted to meet them. They inspired you since your childhood, and now you actually have an opportunity to work with them. Isn't it a perfect scenario? And after working with this client, you see that you've gained a lot of new experience, you learned a lot, and this cooperation with them was very fruitful and productive. And on top of that, the celebrity is very grateful to you that you handled their case very professionally. So, based on the logic of those posts, there is no logic anymore, okay? So, they tell you to be responsible for your bad decisions, but where is the bad decision that you decided to work in this company and now you are getting what you wanted? Based on the logic of those posts, every bad decision has its consequences, meaning they have no response when something good happens. So exactly, that logic only works when you focus on the negative side of every single decision. So I did something wrong years ago and now I have to pay for it. No! Because what happens in situations like this one? When you meet and work with someone you admired since your childhood, everything happens for a reason literally tells you that you worked hard and that you deserve such an opportunity. So God placed this person on your path so you can be better, so you can have more experience, and so you believe in his power. Thanks to meeting this person, you fulfilled your childhood dream, you are a better person, and you'll remember this project, this case, a long years ahead. Just because of that celebrity, their kindness, their smile, their inspiration, and a good word, a good impact that they made in your life. Okay, so this is the end of this topic. I'm really curious what you think about this motto. I hope my perception and my explanation of this topic made you more aware of what everything happens for a reason is really about. And if you have any additional comments, you can write them below. I will be reading them and answering them. And thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye!